Okay, so recently here in the United States, and I guess in some cities around the world, there's been a lot of protests and riots and things like that. And there's been a lot of talk about police brutality and conversation about the police in general. A lot of people want to either defund the police or completely abolish them. And then, of course, on the other side of things, there's people who glorify police and they think that police are heroes and they think that they're good people and that people are kind of over-exaggerating the entire situation. And I think pretty much regardless of whatever side you fall on, you can see what I'm saying in this video. Like, you can understand the whole point. Now, I'm a person who thinks that the killing of George Floyd and a lot of these different situations was completely unjustified. There was no reason to do what they did in that situation, and it should have never happened. But I don't understand how all of these different cancellations of things is really, I guess, doing anything to solve or even really combat this problem, right? So, here in the United States, I actually don't even know if these shows are popular anywhere else. I mean, they might air in places like the United Kingdom or Canada or something. I have no idea. But in the US, there was two really high-rated cop shows, police shows. One was obviously Cops. It's been on and been super high-rated forever. And Live PD, which in the recent years has kind of picked up and has become like a really big show as well. They both pretty much just document the interactions with the public that police have. Lots of crazy shit goes on. You know, they'll pull over somebody and they've got cocaine and firearms in the car, and they try to run or whatever, and it shows the police chase, right? That's kind of how those shows work, right? That's pretty much what people are watching for. But I don't really see how taking those shows off of TV is doing anything to combat any of these problems. Like, with these shows being taken off, it was very obviously in response to the anti-police or questioning authority sentiment that's kind of been thriving here in the United States in the last month or so. But I don't see what it fixes. I mean, obviously, I think we can all agree that police brutality is a very real issue that does happen. Whether you think that it happens all the time or you think that only a few instances are really police brutality, I think we can all agree that it's a real problem. It's not just some made-up thing that never happens, okay? But even with that being a problem, like, what does this do, right? Like, there's, like, let's say you're a police officer who just beats the shit out of people for no reason, right? And you're driving down the road and there's a guy walking down the street, right? And it's like 9 p.m. You get out of your car, and as you're approaching him to question him, you're thinking like, man, Cops and Live PD exist. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't beat the shit out of this guy in 3 minutes. Like, I'm legitimately confused on why people think that this is, like, some sort of action that's going to combat the issue. I mean, police departments around the country aren't just going to be like, okay, well, we're going to kind of reform all of our policies and guidelines and everything to being a police officer because the show Live PD existed, right? It just, what it screams to me when this kind of thing happens is, like, they see an issue going on and they just pull it away because they want to make a knee-jerk reaction to make it look like they're doing something, right? Because obviously here in the US, there's been all kinds of demands for, like, police reform, even police abolition and like defunding and things. So I think that they just see this shit and they're like, well, people will be happy and they'll think that we're great if we do something like this. I mean, these shows weren't the inherent root cause of police brutality. That can be argued all day long. But I mean, like I said, it's not like a cop is getting ready to go into a situation and fuck someone up because these shows exist and they think that they're going to make it onto the show. Like, that's just absolutely insane to think. And if a police officer does think that, I think it's a lot more telling, not of the show being a thing, but more of the cop not deserving to be a police officer. And like recently, Lego, they took out their police sets from their Lego City sets or whatever it is. Like, I don't know, I guess you could build police cars or police stations and things. And they kind of pulled all that stuff off the shelves as everything is going on because I guess it sends a message or whatever. But once again, right, like, imagine that you're a police officer who just constantly is doing bad shit. Like, do you think that cop goes home and, like, pulls out a big Lego set on the dinner table and is like, all right, time to put together the Lego police station and beat the shit out of these Lego characters as a cop, right? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, the police are sitting around at the precinct or whatever, like, yeah, man, I got real excited because of that Lego City police set that's coming out next September, and I just couldn't help but tase that old woman to near death. Like, that doesn't even make sense. I don't understand how this is supposed to combat anything. I mean, people are out there legitimately marching and protesting to combat police brutality. They want people to stop being unfairly beaten and killed, and they want to stop these negative interactions between people and the police, which objectively exist. But then you got all these programs and stuff that are like, well, should we actually try to do something that will, combat the problem? Should we try to openly call for police reform or things like that? No, we won't really do that. Well, I mean, what can we do? What can we do that makes it look like we care about this issue really big, like we're real big into it? Okay, well, let's take our police sets away for 3 months. I mean, it's not like these shows are gone forever, right? If you're one of these people, which I don't imagine very many of you exist, if you are one of these people who legitimately believes that getting rid of the show Cops is going to make police brutality stop, you do realize that in 3 months, it'll be right back on television. Like, that's the whole point. It does nothing to combat the issue, it's just a knee-jerk reaction in order to make it look like someone at a TV executive company cares. I mean, in August, we're going to be seeing reruns of Cops again, okay? It's not the biggest issue with this whole thing, but it's something that I definitely think is odd, and it's something that just shows that these companies really don't give a fuck about problems. They don't care about any of this stuff. If the public gauges any interest in any topic, these companies are going to then pretend to gauge interest in these topics simply because they think that it's going to end up selling products. They think that it's going to end up making money because people are going to think that they support them and they support their issue. So why wouldn't they go with this TV show or go with this company, right? So if these things really are part of the problem, I mean, are people going to be caring in, like I said, a few months when the shit's right back on television or the Lego sets are back out on shelves? Because, I mean, I would have to assume, especially in like Lego's position, I haven't bought Legos in, I don't know, probably almost a decade, but I would have to go ahead and assume that the police Lego City sets were probably one of their highest selling. Because like I remember when I was younger, I mean, I was huge into Legos until I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13. I mean, Legos are still cool and whatnot. I mean, I just don't actively really mess with them. But I remember like when I would go through the toy aisles and stuff at Walmart, like there would just be fucking cop sets everywhere. There would be like firefighter sets everywhere. So I would assume that those were the higher selling sets, that and like Star Wars and whatnot, right? I mean, do you honestly think that Lego cares about police brutality so much that they're just going to completely forever get rid of the police sets? I mean, that would be like me. Like, I'm building that Optimus City project in Minecraft. It's the background gameplay of a lot of my videos. That would be like me saying publicly, right, that like there will be no police stations or police forces in Optimus City. Like that's gonna do anything, like that fixes any of the problem. And even recently, right, like just today there was an announcement from Epic Games that Fortnite was removing all the police cars from the game. Yeah, Fortnite had police cars on the streets of some of the locations in the game, but those have now been taken away, and it's all because of this situation, I guess. I don't know, I think it's pretty goofy, but it's not a joke. I'm not kidding, by the way. The news I found from Slash, who is one of the like esports / gaming figures who kind of reports a lot of this news and leaks shit. Quote, I wouldn't say it's a political statement. I think it's just us being sensitive about the issues many people in our audience are dealing with. Which, I mean, like, do you think that people are going to be playing Fortnite and like the fact that there's no police cars makes them remember that there's, like, no police brutality? Like, that's what they think. They're just like, well, every time I see a police car in Fortnite, I immediately think of police brutality. Like, you would think if that would be the case, right, that, like, people seeing police cars in Fortnite would remind them that police brutality is a real issue, that you would keep police cars in the game for that fucking reason. I mean, that's my thought process, right? Like, if you're a company who apparently cares about this issue, and you care that people in your audience deal with police brutality, you'd think that you'd remind them that it's a real issue that needs to be combated. You would think that would be the case. I mean, once again, like, no police cars in Fortnite. Like, a cop gets off the shift a day of beating the fuck out of people all day, and he logs onto Fortnite and starts playing on his PlayStation, right? And he's like, wait, they deleted all the police cars from the game? So, they don't stand in solidarity with me beating people to death anymore? What? Well, do I have to stop now? I mean, come on, man. And people were, like, all up in arms about Paw Patrol being canceled, but that turned out to be a fucking internet joke that went a little too far. Like, who cares about Paw Patrol? Who cares that 6-year-olds around the world are watching a police dog, whatever else, hang out, right? It's not an issue. It doesn't lead to the actual root problem. And all this shit really is just inaction. I mean, it's disguised as caring or having something to say, but in reality it's not. Removing the police cars from Fortnite does nothing. All it really does is make people look at you and say, wow, that's really fucking stupid. You've done nothing to really combat the issue. Like, if you really care about police brutality that much, why aren't these companies donating to charities? Why aren't these companies signing petitions and, pushing petitions out? Why aren't these companies and their CEOs marching in peaceful protests around the country, which, by the way, are still going on? Because they don't actually give a fuck about the problem. You don't see them doing any of these things. You don't see them taking any action to try and combat the problem. They just remove a TV show or a Lego set or cars from Fortnite for 3 weeks, and then when people aren't thinking about it anymore, they're gonna just add all the shit back, and they got a bunch of good press because they cared so much about police brutality that they did this, right? I mean, I feel like people who genuinely care about this issue, like, they look at shit like this, right? And they just shake their head. Because, these are companies with a lot of power, with a lot of money, with a lot of backing. They could actually truly enact real-world change, and yet they choose not to. Because, well, first off, they don't have to go through all the effort if they just take fucking cops off TV. And second off, because even if they do stoop low enough, from their perspective, stoop low enough to, take cops off TV because they don't want a bunch of fucking controversy, they're still gonna get good press about it, right? Or people are gonna think that that's, a really good thing to do. This shit is just stupid. It's not doing anything, I promise. Police aren't looking at this stuff and being like, well, they're not really showing police in anything anymore, so I can't beat people to death in the streets. And people who are victims of police brutality aren't looking at this and are just like, wow, man, Fortnite took the police car out of their game. This is awesome, right? I don't know. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. Thank you to my channel members. Your support helps my channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus. Removing police from the channel, which actually I don't think there's ever been a cop story here on the channel anyway, and signing out.